There's a couple of checks. No, 41 is.
All right, good morning, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. So today is Thursday, October 5th, and this is the Kane County Ad Hoc Opioid Settlement Fund Committee. So I'd like to call this meeting to order. So if we could start with roll call, please.
Moser.
Here.
Mosser.
I answered either, even recently Jaime Mosier, so I'll take it.
Hain. Okay. Russell. Strathman here. Isaacson.
Here.
You have quorum.
All right, so we have a quorum. And I have no remote attendance requests. Looks correct. Okay. And there's no one signed up for public comment. Okay, very good. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from our August 3rd meeting?
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, and can we just do it by consent? Okay, excellent. Any corrections or objections? All right. Excellent. And I think just for timing, maybe I'll flip the order on the agenda if it's okay to go to the reporting of the funds. So maybe I'll go to Director Hopkinson.
Hello, Kathy Hopkinson, Finance Department. Just a quick report. And as we go forward with these meetings, we'll have additional reports, but currently there are $986,439 in opioid fees that the county has received. This year, this fiscal year, the county has received $656,874. Last year, the county received $337,437. We are hopeful that this committee will work towards putting together a budget for how these funds are going to be used for 2024 and beyond. Any questions? Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair.
Regarding the interest received, $414.97, which will buy a few test tubes and whatnot. How does that money get allocated? Does that go into the general fund? Does it get just put back into this account?
So the interest earned across the county is allocated to all the funds across the county. There's over 100 funds across the county. So the opioid fund will get its share of the interest based on its cash balance at the end of the month as compared to all the other cash balances for all the other funds. That's how it works. So we are, the finance department is behind in posting interest earned. We are feverishly working to catch up on that. We hope to have interest earned through April, April of 2023 posted within the next couple of weeks. I think this is only 1 month's worth of interest so far.
And as a follow-up, are there any restrictions on this money? I know ARPA money, the interest earned on ARPA money is my understanding is separate from the interests that are in our other investments and can be allocated to do whatever we want with it. Is this restricted to just this? I mean, obviously it's greatly needed and very important. I'm just trying to make sure that the money stays where I believe the money should go instead of being distributed through the 100 funds.
Frank, SAO. We can look into that for you. I would have to look specifically at the agreement to see if there's any contemplation of that in there. If not, it'll be more of an open question, but I would imagine if there's no direction of that type of money, then there would be no bounds on it. But I can get you a quick answer on that pretty quick.
Thank you. And if there are no restrictions, then could we put together a resolution allocating those monies? Because there's going to be some significant money coming through for the next 10 years to put back into this fund to use, like I said, this test tubes, whatever is needed educational programs. This would be helpful.
As a matter of procedure, just given what I know about the agreement and kind of the way this ad hoc committee has been set up, it would require a resolution that would go to final order by this group for a dedication of any kind of monies that would come from it.
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear you.
So because of the way this ad hoc committee is set up, where they have final approval of the money,
Mhm.
any resolution would go through them as opposed to a county board, but it is a possibility. Yes.
Wonderful, good, good. I just think it's necessary and needed, and there may be ultimately maybe more than $1 million coming through.
Very good. Any other questions on the finances? All right, excellent. Let's move to discussion regarding initial use of the funds. So what I'm going to propose, based on conversation that we had at our last meeting and just understanding of projects that we have and taking into account Director Hopkinson's request to include this in the budget, which I think is sound reasoning. At the last meeting, we had talked about replicating something like we have done with the Riverboat funds, where we have a grant process where projects can be submitted to this committee for approval. What I would advocate, and of course, this is not for a vote today, but just for discussion, is with the initial funding that we have, that perhaps we look at internal projects that we have here within the county. Because I think there's several good things that are floating around that have been discussed, that we can put an application out to the group internally, and that those applications would come to this committee. If anybody is representing an organization asking for money, obviously they'd have to recuse themselves from the vote, but that we could make determinations, initial determinations even within the next month or two, so that we'd be able to move forward with some projects, because we have money that's in the fund. And I know we have projects because we work on this every day. We have projects that can be brought forward that I think would probably gain some interest from the committee. So just wanted to open that up and see if there's other ideas from the group, or if there seems to be consensus with that type of process. And again, consensus loosely, not formal consensus.
No, I agree. I think that until we're able to figure out how to accept applications outside of the county for the use of this, so that we're fair and able to give reasonable inclusion to everyone, it may be best to keep it within Kane County. Obviously, the recommended way is to do this via resolution, so that we're in compliance with the Open Meeting Act. I have advised Sheriff Hain of that. He was not able to be here today. I will make sure the coroner knows that as well. And those would have to be submitted to us in advance of the meeting, spelling out everything, and then we would take a vote amongst the 5 of us. I do, Chairman Isaacson, completely agree that if a particular office who's on this committee is asking for that funding, so for example, if the state's attorney's office asks for particular funding, I will not be voting during that time period.
How's that sound?
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Has the very first meeting, there was
You
approximately.
pull the microphone just a
Oh,
little
I'm
bit.
so sorry. At the very first meeting, if memory serves, there was about $700,000 allocated for a lab. So is that, no, okay.
There's not any money allocated for a lab. Sheriff Hain at some point will put together a resolution with justification why a lab, all of it, parts of it, whatever portion of it
Okay,
would fall under this. He's
Okay.
going to run that by legal, because we not only have my civil division, but we also have Myers and Flowers, who are our attorneys.
Mhm.
They're also going to give the yes or no. And so that way we have 2 sets of legal advice that's going before the board. So there's no question that we're using this money appropriately.
Wonderful, wonderful. And again, Jamie, could you just confirm that it's my understanding that this committee by resolution has autonomy in how they're expending these resources?
Yes, this was passed through the entirety of the county board. And if memory serves correctly, we had a unanimous vote
Yes,
that
you
this
did.
is how it would be
Okay.
done.
Just confirming that. Thank you.
May I ask a procedural question just to potentially facilitate us moving forward with projects? If we were to draft using a mechanism that we've used before for soliciting project ideas. If we put that out internally, if we're only looking internally, so this isn't public, would we be able to start the groundwork with people being able to put together project proposals between now and the next meeting, as opposed to bringing the draft? Because basically we have pretty clear criteria for what types of projects are allowable. Again, you've mentioned there's a 2-tier review process before it even gets to this committee. But I'd rather not just have months kick by where we're not taking action, right? So if we could get started and I can send a draft around to the committee members or the different departments, if there's others who maybe aren't represented here that may have a project, although off the top of my head, I don't know internally that there would be.
Frank SAO, if you need any help with that, Civil is absolutely more than willing, and would love to help if we could.
Excellent. And in my office, we give out grants specifically to support opioid interventions in the community. So we already have things drafted that we could share and just tweak it to make sure that it's clearly calling out what's in the agreement.
Great. And that's something that we actually checked into during the last meeting, is whether or not we can actually use this to fund somebody who could be our person reviewing these requests. And unfortunately, we cannot. And so this is a discussion I think Mr. Isaacson and I had in regards to how they do it, and the fact that I do also have a grant administrator that might be able to work in tandem together. Obviously, they're paid by the health department and the state's attorney's office, but that way we can supply a person to do that review. But I do agree, in the meantime, if internally resolutions for projects are being made, they should be submitted to the civil division, because that'll be the initial review. And then the secondary review will be done by Myers and Flowers. That's not a legal requirement. I want everybody to know. So if somebody just puts it up, this committee still has to vote on it, but I know that it's our preference that it be done that way.
Right. Okay. That sounds excellent. So I will share then between now and the next meeting, I'll share a draft of a simple template that we can use. People can look it over. And then if people start populating that and sending it to, and is Mr. Frank, is that the point person we should go to in the civil division?
Yeah, for any and all resolutions, we have basically a listserv email that people can send in. I will send that out to the board members, so that way all of you can send it over for review before it's pushed forward by that member.
Excellent. That sounds good. I think that's a good process, and I think we can get started with these projects. Is there still some uncertainty, and this is just for my own information? I know that there's other pending litigation that's still out there. So is there an idea of when we'll have a more certain, absolutely certain idea of what the cash flow is going to be for this?
I can take a look into its current status of that litigation. I will caveat that statement with litigation is never predictable until there's basically tea leaves of a settlement imminent. But anything before that would be completely speculation, but I will at least give you my best guess on that front.
Excellent. Thank you.
I did hear from Myers and Flowers that part of the settlement is just going to come over 10 years. So there is a settlement and we'll just keep getting more. Ms. Hopkinson, I did get an email on August 22nd that we received another payment of $172,555.59. Do you know if that was put into this account?
Well, this year, so just the total that we've received this year is $656,874. I don't know if that $100,000 number is included in that. I could find out real quick.
Okay, I will forward this to you, and as I get them, I will forward them to you along with the members of this committee so that they see whenever monies come in.
And then even though it's out of the scope of this committee, I think just for information, there will be opportunities that's not quite finalized yet at the state where we'll encourage local entities in our community and support people in applications to the state portion of the money, where that will be, there'll be notices of funding opportunities that'll be put out by the Department of Human Services. So just as an FYI, when that becomes clear, we'll share that information. Otherwise, any other discussion? I think this seems like a good way to get things started, at least.
If I may, just have a question that's got nothing to do with this committee, but just procedure. When money like that comes in from a grant and the treasurer accepts it and then it gets deposited into an account, doesn't the treasurer send us a notice so that Kathy Hopkinson or the finance department is aware that that money has come in and has been deposited such and such an account?
I don't know the answer to that question. I think we'd have to check with the treasurer. I
Okay,
do know that we created a fund specifically for this money to go into so that we had no concern where it was, but I don't know how that process works.
it may be something that we can follow up on. That way she knows and everybody knows. that
Yes,
it's come through.
typically when the treasurer's office receives monies that are unusual or new or different, they will reach out to various departments to try to find out who this money belongs to. Right.
And everybody claims it.
It's something you can ask him. Haven't found out.
Any other discussion for today? All right, fantastic. And I don't believe we have any need for an executive session. It's still no public comment for non-agenda items. All right, so I take a motion for adjournment.
I would move to adjourn.
Strathman will second.
All right. All right, thank you, everyone. We'll see you next month.